A maid enters the dark room by opening the door from which light seeped in. The maid says to Her Majesty, the first emperor of the Agnes Empire, that he didn't eat anything again, and that everyone in the kingdom is worried about his health. The maid insisted the empire to have something. The emperor said the word crappy. The maid gets terrified and asks for forgiveness. She says she will take the food away. The emperor replies that she misunderstood him. He was only referring to this book named Chronicles of the Hero of Frosimar. The emperor gets angry, saying that he had never seen such a disgusting book into the castle. The maid curiously questions the emperor about the book and asks, how is it bothering him? The emperor explains that it's a book picturing the future of Agnes. That's 100 years from now. Just like any other novel, a knight fights against the demon king, but the Agnes Empire has already fallen and is in chaos. The humans are blinded by selfishness and none of them try to help the knight. The knight eventually loses to the demon king and dies a horrible death. The emperor says that the details in the book are quite great, as if they have seen the future, but he shouts that his Agnes Empire will never fall. The empire speaks that it's not even worth mentioning, but it's also not possible for him to forget a mere low-class novel, and he resents his memory for this. The emperor utters that he wasted his time by reading the novel, and he will take care of his meal and requests the maid to leave. After the maid's departure, the emperor reminiscent about his achievement. He hears people saying, "Hooray for the emperor! Hooray for the great Agnes Empire!" The people in his kingdom were full of joy that all the land excluding the demons had united. The fairy realm of the west, fishmen of the east, and the giants of the north, those are their lands from now on. The people praises the emperor for this and says that he is the true ruler of the world. The emperor realizes that this is the end for him because there is nothing left for him to conquer nor a higher place to climb up, and he feels empty in his heart. Suddenly, a knight comes running in a palace carrying a person. The knight wonders why there is neither the other knights nor the intruder defense systems working. The palace was that quiet that the knight feels embarrassed to run. The knight thinks why there is no one protecting Prince Zion, whom he is carrying in his back. He thinks it can't be happening. Although Prince Zion is weak and lost the Battle of Throne, yet he is still the prince of the Agnes Empire. The knight makes an oath that even it breaks his body, he would protect the prince no matter what. As he was running, 2 assassins block his way. The first assassin swings his sword aiming at the left hand of the knight. The knight successfully dodges it. Then, both of them swings their swords from both sides of the knight. The knight deflects the attack using his sword and slides back while saying them cowards. One of the assassins says that the knight was lucky because the door was behind him, but now there is no place for him to run, and says that he would kill the prince at once. The knight drops the prince at a corner to fight the assassins. The knight named Fredo says to the prince that no matter how many people come after him, he would protect him. The knight battles the assassins vigorously and asks the assassin for introduction. The assassin speaks that he doesn't have to know that because he will die in their hands anyways. An assassin gets behind the knight and runs towards the prince to kill him. The assassin utters that isn't it better to just die rather than being abused. He also says that he would be merciful and kill him in just one strike. Fredo shouts saying, "The prince to run." As the assassin charges towards the prince and tries to stab him near his heart, his sword stops. One of the assassins says that what is he doing and why isn't he stabbing him? The other assassin who tries to kill the prince says his hands isn't moving and his hands is shaking. The prince opens his eyes while his heart was beating vigorously. Upon waking up, the prince blocks the swords with his left hand. The assassin shouts for help, saying that his body isn't moving. The other assassin charges at the prince, saying him die. The prince uses an attack named Black Star Fall, and the assassins were cut into pieces in a blink of a moment, and the knight was astonished to witness the prince doing that. The knight wonders how is it possible for this incident to happen by the prince's hand. After killing the assassins, the prince says that it is interesting, and this were the very first words that he spoke after waking up. In the novel of Chronicles of the Hero of Frosimar, one beginning, at the start of the story. Some people die, and the youngest prince of the Agnes Empire was one of them. Weak heart that can't even kill an ant, and weak body that can't even carry itself easily. A prince of the Agnes Empire, devoid of any power, and thus lost in the battle for the throne, and was imprisoned, a character. That's embarrassing to even call a character. With only a few lines in the story. According to the novel, the prince should have died in yesterday's ambush. The emperor realizes that he didn't die yesterday because of his power, the Black Star Fall. It's a power that affects the soul rather than physical body. The emperor's senses are very vivid, which ensures that this is not a dream, and he really was inside the novel. The emperor realizes that even if he had survived yesterday, he doesn't have much time, as from this day onwards, after 3 years, this world will come to an end. In the novel, the hero tries to fight the Demon King alone and loses, and the whole empire falls due to the demons. The emperor, who is now inside the body of the youngest prince of the Agnes Empire, feels that this is bad for him, as he doesn't know when he can return to his original body, and he cannot afford the end of this world until he returns to his original body. The emperor understands that he has to change the story of the novel. The war between the humans and the demons will happen after 2 years, but before that happens, the prince has to stop the empire from dividing the forces with this sloppy body. His Black Star Fall isn't perfect either. The emperor grasps the situation that the prince is a weak character with no one to back him up, and no one recognizes him. His heart was beating faster, as if he was feeling goosebumps, and the thing he was feeling was indeed fun, because now he has something to achieve, some higher status to climb up to. The prince has to take care of his surroundings first, and also has to find the mastermind behind yesterday's ambush. The prince thinks that even if he is abandoned, he is still the prince. In the meantime, the knight calls the prince. The prince walks outside of his room thinking about yesterday's incident. He wonders how many people are daring enough to even bring assassins into the castle. Judging from Fredo's reaction, this is not the first time for this kind of situation to happen, and the knights who didn't show up yesterday must have part in this, the prince conceives. As the prince was heading towards the door, a knight shouts him to stop. The prince says that he wants to go outside for a walk. The knight replies that it's already dark and he cannot let him to go outside. The prince answers that isn't the palace also a dangerous place. The knight rejects the prince, saying that he has orders to follow and he cannot let him go. The knight's behavior offended the prince. The prince gets angry and asks whose order it is and tells them to remember that they are serving him and no one else. The prince uses his bare hand to cut the throat of the knight who offended him and says that he never gave such an order. He then opens the door and sees the red moon, which proves that this is the world of the novel. The prince comprehends that yesterday's ambush would have been impossible without any help from inside, and thinks that he should consider everyone except Fredo as his enemy. In the meantime, all the knights gathers behind the prince. The knights questions the prince why he killed his escort's knights. The prince answers that he executed him for betraying the royal blood. All the knights get shocked. The prince speaks to the knight that slacking off while guarding and protecting the royal blood and aiding in the assassination of the royal blood is a great crime. With the name of Zion Anges, prince of the Anges Empire, he would execute all the knights, declares the prince. One of the knight who was in charge of all the knights understands that the prince knows that they are involved in yesterday's incident. The commander knight orders all the other knights to pull their swords out, and they have to kill the prince right here and right now. The prince smirks as the situation seems very interesting to him. The knight charges towards the prince to kill him. The prince utters that he would add one crime in the knight's list, which is attempted murder, as he is trying to murder the prince. The prince gets at the back of the knight and kill him with his bare hand. The prince warns the other knights, saying that this is just a mere sample, and if anyone leaks something regarding the castle to the outside, it will bring their demise. One knight thinks that the prince has changed and he couldn't even imagine him as weak from now on. The prince says them to don't forget that he is their master. The knights replies saying yes. The night passes, and the prince increase his black star fall power near 1 star. A knight comes running to the prince saying that he has a guest to attend. The prince asks, "Who is it?" The knight replies that Priscilla Barmel wants to see him. The prince remembers that Priscilla Barmel is one of the characters of the Chronicle of Frosimar and will be called the Princess of Misfortune in the future, and that Priscilla Barmel, his fiancée. Priscilla takes a sip of the tea and says to Prince that he might be wondering why she has came to visit him all of a sudden. Priscilla says to Prince Zion that she wants him to break the engagement with her. Priscilla repeats herself that the reason she came here today was to cancel the engagement. She wanted to say something but gets interrupted by the prince, who only says sure. The princess gets shocked by his behavior. The prince tells to the princess that he assumes she has no more further business here. The princess wonders why the prince is accepting it that easily, while the prince comes out of the room. The prince gets blocked by the princess's escorts. The knight says to the prince to go back inside and apologize to the Lady Priscilla. The prince questions the knight what he means by that. The knight replies that the Lady Priscilla isn't someone whom he can treat badly. The prince glares at the knight. In the meantime, Priscilla thinks that not long ago, the prince was begging her to become his fiancée, but presently, he is obediently accepting the engagement to be cancelled. The princess feels that she is the one who is getting dumped and says that this won't do even if the engagement is cancelled. This is not how it's supposed to go. As the princess gets out of the door and calls the prince, she watches her escort, Grego, get defeated by the prince in 1 strike. The other escort creates a barrier to save himself, but the prince sends him flying with his bare hands. The prince tells the escorts that he doesn't like anyone who gets in his way. The princess gets astonished and thinks, what in the world is happening right now? Zion says to Priscilla that he spared their lives and she must take them away. As the prince walks forward, she tells him to wait. The prince turns around and thinks that she is really annoying. Priscilla asks whether she can stay here for a while. She explains that there are a lot of things to do in order to cancel an engagement. Zion thinks to reject her stay at first, but then he realizes that if things goes smoothly, he can use her. If Zion uses her rare talent, which made her the Princess of Misfortune in the novel, he can catch the enemy within the castle, so he tells Priscilla to do as she wants. 3 days have passed since then. Priscilla thinks that it has been 3 days since she is staying in the Pointer Star Palace, but never once has she seen the prince's face. She wonders if the prince doesn't want to meet her. Why did he let her stay in the palace? Priscilla imagines what in the world happened. The power the prince showed back then, she has never seen that power even once, and says that she would find out the mystery of the prince today. Priscilla goes to see Zion while he was explaining something to the knights. The prince looks back. Priscilla asks the prince what he is intending to do. He didn't show his face even once to the princess, and Priscilla assumes that he is avoiding her. The prince gets annoyed and tells Priscilla to watch her words and not to cross the line. Zion tells that he never asked her to stay here. He just didn't stop her from staying here. She stayed here on her own wish. Zion questions Priscilla whether is he obligated to come to see her. Priscilla says no, he doesn't have to. She said that she understands the situation and leaves the area. After that, Zion orders the knight that over the next week they shall double the number of the night guards. The patrol team will be changed into 3 per team, and all knights are required to wear iron plates that cover their neck and heart. Zion thinks in his mind they have to do that at least for 3 days. At nighttime, the assassins get into the palace. The lights were slowly getting off. The prince is sitting on a chair that looks like a throne and senses the assassins coming in. The assassins think that it is strange the security is tighter than what the commissioner informed them. It was as if they knew the assassins were coming. The assassin hears a light sound from behind him and turns around to see who it is. Both of the assassins witnesses the death of their third member in front of their eyes. The assassins get astounded and think there are no blind spots here, so where did the attack came from? The other assassin shouts to save him but gets killed by Xeon. The assassin turns around and sees Xeon Agnes. He thinks that Xeon has been hiding his true power and he must run out of here and inform the others, but in a mere second Xeon cuts his throat. Xeon says that he was going to let go at least any one of the assassins, but unfortunately this assassin isn't among the lucky one. After killing the assassins, Prince Xeon hears the sound of the mana explosion. He wonders if there was any magician in the palace. Then he remembers he has Priscilla in one of his chambers. He thinks that Priscilla was the one responsible for the magical activity. At the same time, Priscilla gets ambushed by one of the assassins who never knew that there would be a magician in the palace. Priscilla says that how daring of him to attack the imperial palace while creating a magic barrier. The knight charges at Priscilla with his knife and breaks the magic barrier, which astonishes her. The knight shouts that it's over for her now and moves his knife towards Priscilla. But suddenly, as the assassin tries to kill her, his knife changes direction, which pierced his heart. The assassin dies without knowing the reason why his knife rotated backwards. Another assassin was hiding and planning to attack the Prince Xeon, but he feels terrified. He never thought such a strong figure will be present in the Pointer Star Palace, which was said to be abandoned. Prince Xeon feels the presence of the assassin who is hiding. Priscilla calls. Prince Xeon who activates a new power. The tracking technique of the Black Star Fall, which creates a dark soul thread only visible to Xeon, and it follows the assassin. This power will lead Xeon to the main base of his enemies, and Xeon says that he would visit them very soon. Prince Xeon was happy that the Black Star Fall has increased its potency and reached level 1, but he worries about the severity of the burden on his body, and realizes that he needs to strengthen his body. Prince Xeon has a visitor who was a person named Evelyn Agnes. In the novel The Chronicles of the Hero of Frozimar, she was the closest character to being the main character, aside from the hero. As one of the princesses of the Agnes Empire, she was the closest candidate to the next emperor. Among the members of the royal family, she was the only woman who supported the hero's party, and to be exact, she intended to that. Prince Xeon walked up to the room to meet his visitor. His presence was announced, and he sits on the sofa, which is directly opposite to Evelyn Agnes. Princess Evelyn asks Xeon if he feels fine. She says she heard that there was an attack in the palace last night. Prince Xeon replies that he is fine. He was surprised that the incident was already leaked to the outside. Princess Evelyn thinks that yesterday's attack might have taken a toll on him to change him this much in just one night. She feels sorry for him and says that she is happy to see that he is doing good. She says she would find out and punish those who have attacked that palace, and she would also strengthen the security of the palace for him to be reassured. Prince Xeon replies that there is no need for Princess Evelyn to take that much trouble. In addition, he says that he has adequate security already. However, Prince Xeon demands to know the reason of Princess Evelyn's arrival. Princess Evelyn replies that she has came here out of her concern for him after hearing the news of last night. She says that Prince Xeon is his little even though they have different mothers, and he would be an adult soon. She reminds Prince Xeon that there would be a succession ceremony soon. She told him to give up upon participating on the succession ceremony. Prince Xeon asks her to give an appropriate reason for him to not participate. Princess Evelyn says that is thoughtless of him to ask such question because he won't pass the succession ceremony as he neither possesses have the strength nor the skill to back him up. She explains that Prince Xeon will not be able to clear the first trial and will be left lying on the ground, and even if he passes the first trial and gains entrance to the White Star Palace. The White Star Palace is much more harsher from the succession ceremony. Princess Evelyn gets furious and predicts that he won't last even a day and tries to persuade the young prince to give up on the ceremony. Then the celestial star C appeared. The celestial star C is the power that is only passed down to the Agnes royal family's direct descendants. It is the authority to rule over everything in the world. Prince Zeon stares straight in Evelyn's eyes and says he wants to know the name of the person who said that he doesn't have the power to defend himself in the succession ceremony. Princess Evelyn returns to her palace. A knight asks Princess Evelyn about the reason for taking the knights along with her. Princess Evelyn replies that Prince Zion will not give up on the succession ceremony. Princess Evelyn thinks that Prince Zion has changed and she cannot think of him as weak anymore. She wonders when Zion grew this much. The power Zion showed her was definitely not the celestial star sea. Princess Evelyn orders the knight to increase the guards around the castle without getting caught by Zion, and also says to keep watch on Zion's movements. Fredo says to Prince Zion that Princess Evelyn must have liked him very much, as she sent something as precious as this elixir to him. The elixir contains the power and stamina of a 1,000-year-old ogre. Prince Zion finds it hard to believe that Princess Evelyn can support him to this extent. Well, Prince Zion was also surprised by the appearance of Celestial Star Sea. The working system and trait of the Celestial Star Sea matches with Zion's power, Black Star Fall. He wonders how can something so similar exist, but he remembers that he is in the novel, and something like this can happen. Prince Zion thinks that Princess Evelyn's gift will be useful in the near future, so he kept it. The maid announces the presence of Priscilla, and the prince told them to let her in. Priscilla demands to know the reason why she was called here after getting treated like she didn't exist. Prince Zeon answers that she has stayed in the castle for a long time and she have to pay for her stay. Priscilla seems confused and asks Zeon, what does he mean by it? Prince Zeon gives Priscilla a picture of a magic circle and asks her how much time she would need to complete and activate this magic circle. Priscilla gets surprised and demands to know how and where did the prince got this magic circle. Zion replies that he drew it. Priscilla gets even more astonished and says, starting from the formula and structure and the principles, she has never seen anything like this until now. Prince Zion asks her how long it will take her to activate the magic circle. Priscilla replies she would complete the process in the next day. Priscilla didn't expect Prince Zion to know so much about magic. She guesses that this magic circle might be some detection magic, but it's like pulling out something by force. Priscilla asks for the purpose of the magic circle. Prince Zion replies that it's meant for hunting. Prince Zion instructs everyone to gather around the spot of the magic circle. One of the maid wonders about the reason why Prince Zion told everybody to gather here. The other person, who happens to be the chief of the maid, says that he doesn't know either because the prince has changed and he can no longer understand him. Since the prince changed, the maid says that the new attitude of the prince makes him look scary. Then, Prince Zeon tells Priscilla to activate the magic circle. Priscilla recites some spells, and the magic circle transforms to enemy detection, magic circle, and Priscilla finishes the circle by giving it some of her blood. The chief transforms to a monster. Enemy detection magic circle reveals the true self of the enemy in a certain range. Priscilla gets shocked and asks what type of thing it is. The young prince replies that it's the enemy of the palace. Prince Zeon recalls that this monster is the true enemy of the chronicles of the hero of Frosimar. This monster is the one who serves the Demon King and drives the world to an end, and other monsters also appears. Priscilla gets scared as the monster charges to attack her first, and everyone shouts to protect Priscilla by any means necessary. Prince Zion thinks that this was expected as the blood of Priscilla, which is called the evil blood, is like a heavenly elixir for the monsters. According to the novel, Priscilla will be taken by the demons who were after the evil blood and was used to supply them. The blood without being able to live or die. That was the reason why she was called the Princess of Misfortune. The knights starts to kill the monsters with their swords while Princess Zion moves forward. Prince Zion thinks that these monsters are very strong, and even the lowest class monsters are way more powerful than regular humans. The demon territory is full of those kinds of monsters. Prince Zion stands straight near the monster, as if he was trying to get attacked by it. Prince Zion grabs the monster's neck and uses his power. He detects that it has two hearts. The monster pushes Prince Zion away. Then, the monster turns around and saw the magic circle. The monster wonders what kind of power he is facing and demands to know the identity of Prince Zion. Prince Zion replies that he is the monster's enemy. The monster charges at Prince Zion. Zion activates his power, the Black Starfall, and releases an aura which covers the monster. Zion defeats the monster and thinks that this could have been difficult for him if Black Star didn't reach level 1. He broke the monster's core, so it should be impossible for the monster to send any information to the demon territory. Some of the knights that Evelyn secretly deployed to monitor Prince Zion barged into the area. One of the knight greets the young prince and introduces himself as Alex from Lion Knightage. The knight asks Prince Zion to tell them about all that happened when he was alone with the monster. Immediately, Prince Zion perceives that they are Evelyn's knights. Zion replies, "Nothing much, he was just defeating the enemies." Prince Zion decides to hide the existence of demons so that he can hunt them all without playing hide-and-seek. At one of the palace, a knight reports to one of his prince, who happens to be Prince Zion's rival. The knights report that something happened at Prince Zion's palace. The prince asks the knight if he is referring about the failed operation they planned against Prince Zion. The knight replies that something happened after the failed operation. A dark energy was detected from Prince Zion's palace. Black magic? What does it mean? The prince investigates. The knight replies that he doesn't know much about it either, as all of their spies have been taken down and stopped sending any further information. Even the maids and servants of the palace are not willing to share any information, no matter how many times the knight investigates them. The prince orders to plant some more spies in Zion's palace. The knight says that there is a rumor about the sudden change in Prince Zion's attitude. The prince orders the knight to explain himself. The knight explains that Prince Zion has gotten really brutal, and he wields a special power, which is unknown to all. The prince believes that Prince Zion may have finally got mad as his life was an utter failure, and says that he doesn't believe in such rumors. He thinks that Prince Zion was a loser since birth, and the only thing he inherited from the Agnes blood is the hair color. No matter how hard he fights back, he is just a crawling bug. The prince asks the knight if Prince Zion still plans to take over the throne in this succession ceremony as his time has come. The knight replies that Prince Zion has no intentions of giving up in this succession ceremony. The prince replies that Zion must have been out of his mind and that he doesn't know his place. The prince reminds the knight about the ceremony and says the knight that he wanted to make it look interesting. Since the succession ceremony comes up in a week, Prince Zion is looking for a certain place which he knew was somewhere near here. It was quite easy for the prince to get to the outer areas of the palace. Prince Zion thinks that people are suspicious of him, but he won't be seeing them for a while as he took care of it. Prince Zion arrives at the Meal of the Moonlight. It's a restaurant that's quite popular in the capital city. So popular that a person can't go upstairs where the private rooms exist unless they make an appointment. But the true identity of this place is Information Guild, Eye of the Moon. To be more precise, it is one of the secret branches of the Eye of the Moon Guild. Zion seats at the restaurant where a waiter attends him. The waiter asks for his order. The prince says the code that he would like sunlight liquor and fried snowflower for a snack. The waiter leads him to the upstairs where the branch manager resides. The branch manager replies that it's her first time seeing a guest from this specific place. Prince Zion asks the branch manager if he can make a request. The branch manager says that he needs to introduce himself before she grants him any request. Prince Zion replies that since when did the Information Guild asks for the employer's identity. The branch manager explains that they usually do not ask for the customer's identity, but it's a special case, as this place has recently become a new branch for the Eye of the Moon, and they are not official yet. So this place is unknown to all. Even most of the core members didn't know the location. In addition, she remembers all the faces that knew this secret place. Suddenly, the escorts protecting the branch manager becomes suspicious of Prince Zion and surrounds him. Before the branch manager could react, Prince Zion activates the aura of the Black Star and massacres all the killers with a strong, diffusing dark energy. For a moment, the branch member, whose name is Evelyn, gets frozen with fear, wondering how the professional escorts who were assigned to protect her were all defeated in mere seconds. There were also some guys from the main branch of the Eye of the Moon. Prince Zion says to Evelyn that how he found the place is not important. The most important matter is that he has a commission for Lady Evelyn, and she have to grant his request. Lady Evelyn asks the young prince what he wants from her. The prince replies that he wants a fake-eyed and the information about the Black Forest. After Prince Zion's departure, the man who happened to be the waiter asks Miss Evelyn's reasons for accepting the demands of Prince Zion. Miss Evelyn asks the waiter if he remembers about the fight earlier. In that fight, the prince's robe slightly came off, and Evelyn noticed the gray hair, a type of hair which belongs only to the royal family house of Agnes. Miss Evelyn conceives that one of the members from the Agnes family might have started taking action. The waiter says that he would hire a top-tier agent into this matter. Miss Evelyn orders the waiter to find every single details about him. Who is he in the royal family? Why did he left the imperial castle? And lastly, why did he traveled? In addition, Miss Evelyn says to him to also find any details regarding the Black Forest. She wonders about the identity of the person. She was surprised to witness the charisma and the power to take everything down at once which the intruder showed a mere moments ago. Miss Evelyn thinks that he might be the candidate for the throne in the succession ceremony. At the Pointer Palace, no matter how Priscilla thinks about it, she still doesn't understand. She guesses that the magic circle was not simple and can only be done by a dark magician. On top of that, it was a circle for detecting the enemy within the castle. She concludes that the royal family might also has doubts about the previous incident. Priscilla thinks that she has the right to know something regarding the incident from the prince, as she was one who activated the magic circle and also provided her blood. Priscilla gets angry and quickly walks near the prince's chamber. The guard stops her from entering. Priscilla demands to know the reason for their rude behavior. The knight replies that the prince had given orders to not let anybody inside at this moment, as he was shocked from the recent incident. Priscilla gets furious and tells them not to lie, as the prince was the one responsible for defeating the monster. How can the prince be in shock? Priscilla questions the knight. The knight says the princess to refrain from saying about those incident, as Prince Zion has strictly decreed silence upon the matter. The news traveling outside will not be accepted. Priscilla refuses the knight, saying that she is neither from the Pointer Palace nor the prince's fiancée, so that why would she follow the prince? Priscilla suddenly feels guilty, as she was the one who wanted to stay at the palace on her own wish. The guard says that the young prince left a message for Lady Priscilla, and it says that Priscilla should leave the palace quickly, if she doesn't have any further business here. The prince boarded the train which works on mana. The prince remembers that, in his timeline from the past life, this system never existed. This might be possible because the novel took place after centuries into the future of the original timeline. He says that he would use this method in the original world. Zion discovers that there have been some eyes watching over him since his departure from the Eye of the Moon. Zion thinks that he predicted it right, as he even showed his hair color intentionally, because if they monitors him from close distance, it would be easier for him to keep an watch on them as well. The prince thinks in his mind that the place he is going into will serve as the eyes and ears of the hero who would appear in the near future. There is a guild that would provide all support to the hero, purely with the belief of saving the world without any gains, and the prince wants to see them with his own eyes. An announcement was made that the train will be arriving at the ruin station shortly, and the passengers who would like to exit can depart from the door at their left. The prince gets up from his seats, while thinking that he needs to hire some people who will work as his hands and feet, because the knights at his palace lacks power and skills, and he doesn't have time to give them training lessons. Prince Zion realizes that he needs to use the information that he read in the novel, and he would acquire his first subordinate in the outer city of Ruin, and specifically, he would find the person in an area close to this. Prince Zion thinks that he made it just in time, as the Purification Festival will start. The Purification Festival is a festival which is held once a month in Ruin. An event to purify sins and pray for future well-being, through beings protecting the city. According to the novel, Ruin would meet its downfall in this Purification Festival, and the Black Forest is the starting point of Ruin's downfall. It's a place that's said to be only known to the Lord of Ruin and his family, and the Lord's permission is necessary to enter the Black Forest. Prince Zion perceives that there is a spy from the Information Guild following him and forces him to come out. He says to the spy that he will add another commission and tells him to find information about the ongoing mercenary recruitment at the Lord's Castle and the location of those bearing a six-headed beast tattoo in this city. Prince Zion says that he assumes it will not take long for him to find the informations, as he is from the best intelligence guilds in the empire. After saying that, Prince Zion leaves the area. Another castle came into view at the ruin. Rain draw near a character who is having a conversation with her father, the landlord of this city. She says to her father that she got an opportunity, and now she would decimate every purifiers in this land. Rain's father says that even their ancestors who can control the dragons were also lacking in power while facing them. Her father demands to know the reason what she is planning to eradicate this monsters. Rain Dranier replies that she would never let those bastards take any more part of this land. Rian thinks, even if the purifiers are viewed as the hero who subjugated the evil, still, it doesn't change the fact that the purifiers are controlling the country to their own benefit. Then, Rain Dranier leaves the room and went to the outside area where she meets her peers, who are known as the 7 elites of the North. One of the 7 elites asks Rain Dranier for the reason of her face being this irritated. Ragno, her peers say that the reason she is annoyed might be because she again got scolded by her old man. Lian says to Ragno to mind his offensive words, as the old man he is referring to is the landlord of this city. Ragno says that Lian is being too serious in all matters. Lian replies that he can't disrespect the landlord. Rain Dranier demands both of them to keep quiet and asks them about the requirement, and how is it going, and if there is anyone useful among them. Ragno say that even having 10s of them is useless, and they should do their jobs themselves. A yellow-hair guy says that he is not sure if there is any useful people among them, but there are some interesting guys out there, and one of them might be useful. At that moment, our prince enters the area using a disguise. All people gather near the 7 elites and starts gossiping. They says that Ragno of the Red Palace Wall is here too, and why all the 7 elites of the North has gathered here all together. The young prince thinks that according to the novel, this woman, Rain Dranier, is one of the hero's allies in the future, with the talent given by the heavens that only appears once in 1,000 years, strongest spear user in history. Dragon Slayer, King Godly Spear are all the titles she attains in the future. She stands as one of the strongest character in the chronicles of the hero of Frosimar. The prince, in order to participate in the competition, uses the name Zeon Harness instead of Zeon Agnes. The prince's opponent uses a nickname Human Slaughter, and his name is Uro. In the novel, he was a notorious criminal who was on the wanted list, but even the troops were afraid to arrest him. The prince concludes that the 7 elites only judges people with their skills only. Uro says that Prince is going to die and warns him to retreat, or else it will bring his demise. Uro charges at Zion, saying that he would now break his limbs. He jumps and tries to attack from above. The young prince analyzes his opponent's posture. He analyzes the strength point and says that every movement that exists in this world has strength points, tens of strength points in every move, and disturbing even. Just one would break the movement. The prince concludes that he even won't have to use his black star fall. Zion easily dodges the attack and says that Uro's attack won't work on him. While dodging the attack, Zion uses his legs' movement to stop Uro's movement and punches him straight to the face, and the opponent goes flying away. The watchers get shocked and says, "How did he achieve this feat?" The judge compliments the prince, saying that he only used minimum and basics movements to win against an opponent. The judge concludes that usually people do that when the opponent is very strong, but the prince is using this basics movement because he was born with a weak body and his body cannot keep up with his mind. That's why he is being efficient while using his strength. Reincarnated agrees with him. "Ragno?" asks Reincarnated. If she is interested in this young man because it seems he has a good skill and everyone among the 7 elites can do that also. Ragno added that he may not be able to handle the 7 elites with this sloppy body of his. Lian says that he has the same thought. He can see the afford he put on his training, but he was born weak. Lian praises the young prince, saying that he has a great sense of battle, but it will be more efficient for him to become a wizard with much magnificent battle sense. Rain concludes that maybe he doesn't have any talent on that area too. Reincarnated gets upset because she can't find anyone worthy of joining them, and they don't even have the time to recruit them any longer. At that moment, Reincarnated notices a man entering the arena. She notices a tattoo on his neck, which implies that he is a person of the purification cult. Reincarnated gets angry and says, "What are these bastards doing here?" The purification cult, a minority group that worships the evil sealed in the Black Forest that Rain is trying to subdue. It is a religion that spreads like a disease in the northern part of the empire, including the city of Ruin. Rain thinks that her troops had already filtered twice. But how is this happening? The person who is from the purification cult says that 6-headed beast shall arrive, and their duty is to make way until it arrives and purge these ignorant non-believers. The people in this area shall now meet their demise. The person's belly gets bigger to the point of explosion. Rain Drainer quickly kills the monster and handles the situation. Rain thinks she stopped them for now, but she notices another person who was at the point of destruction. She shouts to stop them, and a minor area blast occurs, and the black aura of the Black Star fall. Ragno and Lian thinks that Rain stopped the person from doing further damage. Ragno asks Rain how did she did that and when did she secretly learn something. The yellow guys compliments her, saying it was amazing. Rain intervenes, saying she was not the one who did that, and asks if they really didn't notice what happened. Some time ago, Rain noticed that Zion Harness was the one who released an attack at the monster and minimized the damage. At the present, the prince thinks that, as he remembered everything in the chronicles of the hero of Frosimar, it was easy for him to predict and change the occurring events and was able to stop the terrorist attack. But merely outperforming other mercenaries isn't enough to capture Reincarnated's attention. As fortunately, the terrorist attack occurred without any errors, and he simply took care of it. As a result, the prince was able to capture Reincarnated's attention and was accepted at the Subjugation meeting. At the meeting, Reincarnated announces that everybody present in this meeting will take part in the subjugation. A person selected in the meeting from the mercenary recruitment thinks that besides the elites of the north, 2 of them were selected from the mercenary recruitment, including her and the woman sitting next to her. Rain announces that she would now explain the summarized plan of the subjugation. Reincarnated explains that a peculiar forest exists between Ruin City and the Salios Mountains, a forest where everything including the trees and grass is stained black. People call this the Black Forest, and those who entered never came out, so it's prohibited to enter and is managed by the city. On of the woman from the mercenary recruitment questions Rain, saying that she knows about the Black Forest, but she wants to the thing they are going to subjugate, and why. Rain answers with only one word: evil. Rain illustrates her answer that they might have heard legends about her family's founder. A legend about a hero who was covered in the blood of a dragon and gained the power of a dragon, destroying evil and founded ruin, city over it, which is pretty famous in the north. She explains further that, actually, the evil didn't perish back then. It was so strong that our founder could only seal it away. As such, Ruin has been paying the price for that with Zeon intervenes, saying that Ruin has been paying the price for that with the Purification Festival. Rain Dranir answers that Zeon words are right and to be exact, the purification ritual that takes place at the end of the Purification Festival is the price. One of the elites asks Rain that by the Purification Festival is she referring to the ritual where convicts are sent to the Black Forest. Rain replies that yes, and they are sent there as sacrifices to maintain the seal. Ragno says that if there is a need for them to do subjugation, as the sacrifices are all criminals who are destined to die anyways. Raindranir explains that the sacrifices are happening 5 person per month, and if this continues like this, there would not be enough convicts for sacrifices. Then, the people with minor crimes, and even some poor innocent one, will be the one for sacrifices, because the quota has to met at all cost. Rain suddenly remembers a day in her past where he witnessed 2 person dragging an innocent person, and she says she would never sacrifice her people to some unknown evil entity. Ragno claps and says that that's a good reason for doing the subjugation. Raindrainer says that she doesn't know every details of this evil entity, but one thing is sure, that this entity's power has been decreasing for the long-lasting seal. Because of a unique magical barrier, only a handful of people can enter the Black Forest. Raindranier says that the people here are the strongest ones she could gather for the subjugation. One of the members says that she understands Miss Rain, but she asks for reason of including Zion in this subjugation. Ragno says that he also wants to know the reason of including Zeon on this meeting. Zion thinks that this meeting is of high value because of the presence of 7 elites of the North, meeting of the elites who are called the Skies of the next generation. With just their name alone, a huge support force can be formed, and 5 among those 7 elites have gathered here. Raindranier replies that she had a gut feeling that they will need him. Ragno implies that Rain might be drunk to make such a rash decision. The prince conceives that Raindrainer still suspects him even though she noticed Zeon's power. The fact that Rain didn't say anything specific to back up Zeon means that she is even suspicious of the other people who are present in this room. Zeon perceives that Rain is right because a man without an identity came inside the palace. It cannot happen unless they have a backing from the inside. Zeon thinks in his mind that he knows who the betrayer is, but he won't tell anybody anything now because all this events occurs to help Rain to grow. Rain announces that she would now start the discussion of planning the routes, so she tells everybody to listen carefully. The day passes and the night arrives. At the night, Zeon releases his black aura and is training his power the Black Star Fall to increase his potency. Zeon sees that he can't control his power freely. The Black Star Fall is at better condition than the first time he woke up in this body, but he still can't be sure if he can beat any of the 7 elites with this level of power. The prince concludes that his future opponents will be even more powerful compared to the 7 elites, and the time will not stop for him. He needs to make the Black Star Fall level 2 as soon as possible. Zeon turns around and sees a mysterious girl wearing a white dress coming towards to him. The girl asks Zeon how is he doing that. You are already released? Zeon questions the woman. The girl gets shocked because she didn't accept Zeon to know anything about her. The girl walks up to Zeon and warns him not to go to the forest as he would be doomed if he enters the forest. After giving that warning, the girl vanishes into thin air. Zeon smiles, saying that the situation just got more interesting. He wonders if his actions influence the story or not, but to him, it really doesn't matter. Xeon walks away and gets near a tree and tells the spy to come out. The spy gets out and says to Xeon, how does Xeon even knows that he is here? Xeon neglects the spy's question and asks for the thing he ordered. The spy brings out a pouch and says that inside it there is the highest class spell storage he ordered. The spy added that it was very hard for him to get this on such a short notice and asks the prince what he will do with it. The prince utters a single word, surrender, for the spy's question. The spy wonders what the prince meant by the word surrender and how he should report such a weird incident to the office. At night, they all are entering the forest. The prince perceives that it's really black in the forest. The dirt on the floor, the trees, the grass growing from it, and even the stones rolling around as if it's absorbing all the lights and making it dark. One of the elites says that how come this place isn't known to people? Something as serious as this should be raided by the Empire and not the city. One of the members taunts him for saying that and implies that he is coward. The young prince conceives that Reindranier didn't even give a proper explanation to the other members, but the members are still trusting her. Except Kayla, as she is a person newly recruited from the mercenary recruitment. Reindranier declares that they head in right away. Rain notices that the evil energy has gotten stronger. She thinks that she doesn't know what's going on, but one thing is for sure that they doesn't have time to linger. Leon asks Rain whether they are going in straight as they have planned before. Rain answers, yes, they are going in, but before that, she has something to do. She brings out her spear from which lightning sparks. Rain says that as they are here, they at least need to knock the ground first. Lightning strikes as Reindranier strike the ground and makes a huge crack in the ground. They all see that the road ahead was a trap. Reindranier turns around and says that she would go first and follows the other road inside the forest. Ragno and the other follows Rain. As they are running towards the forest, the furious fox-like beast appears in front of them. They are known as the evil beasts who show up in this specific forest. The beasts charges towards Rain. Reindranier notices that she would not be able to dodge their attack because of being this close. Ragno, who is beside Rain, says to her, not be in front, if she couldn't handle the consequences. We witness a flame in Rango's right arm. He punches the fox with his flame arm. Ragno stands in front of Rain and declares that this forest is now his territory, while we notice falms from all over his body. On the next scene, other beasts appears. One of the elites, whose name is Heart, takes care of it using his dagger. He swiftly pierces the two beasts. After fighting for a moment, they all notice that they are being surrounded by the evil beasts. Kayla, one of the people from mercenary recruitment, alerts everybody to stand clear if they don't want to get burned. She creates 2 blue flame using mana in her hands and spreads the flame all over the place. Most of the beasts gets incinerated. One of the members uses a spear to slash a beast and says to Kayla to stand behind him. Xeon perceives that everything is going as he predicted. All the movements of the elites were in sync because they are childhood friends. Xeon looks up in the leaves of the trees. He senses a bat coming towards him. The bat passes the lady and Xeon and tries to fly away. The prince uses his dark aura and kills the bat using his dark energy from a far distance. Kayla speaks up to Xeon. She demands to know the identity of the prince and how did he kill the bat from that far of a distance with just lifting his hand. Kayla tries to ask again, but suddenly they hear a roar of a beast. They witness an enormous bear. Rain announces everybody to go back to their formation. Xeon thinks that the main event has begun and the forest starts to change its form. Ragno shouts saying that everybody should not panic and stick together as close as possible. The beast who is in middle of them tries to strike Rain and Rango and pushes them back. Heart and Xeon get separated from the rest of the team, and trees covers the area between them. Xeon thinks that the things are going just as he planned, and it will be good for him to act now as the rest of the team got far apart and he couldn't feel their presence. Zeon would now take care of something before going to the sealing ground. Hart gets irritated and says that this is a bad situation for him. Zeon questions Hart why it will be bad. Is it because he can't be able to kill Reindranier? Zeon's question makes Hart shake and turns his first pale. Hart turns around and say to Zeon what he meant by it. Zeon replies that he exactly knows what Zeon is talking about. Ragno worries about Hart and wonders why does the person who went with Hart was Zeon, as Ragno still couldn't trust Zeon completely. Ragno asks Rain what she is planning to do about it. Are they going to find them? Ragno questions. Rain answers no, they would not look for Hart, and they would head deeper inside the forest. Rain thinks if the person who got separated with Hart is Zeon. That must mean Hart is saved, as Zeon power is the polar opposite of evil. Rain perceives. Rain agrees. In her mind, that she has been suspicious of her surroundings, even since the purification cult's terrorist attack. She conceives that there is no traitor among the members she selected. Leon, who knows, Rain since when she was only 3 years old, and he is like a family to her. The others, Ragno, Hart, Kayla, are all Rain's friends since she was young. They all are like ride or die friends, according to Reindranier, and that should be case Rain concludes. On the other land, Zeon explains to Hart that as one of the rising stars, representing the northern region of the Empire, and the second son of the Sidmail family, a lord family that dominates the northern region. Like the Dranier family, that were the words of embellishments for Hart, one of the 7 elites. But there was another one. He was one of the main executives of the purification cult, serving the evil of the Black Forest. Hart, after listening to Zeon, goes to say that, how did he know, but stops and says that, this doesn't matter. Who else knows about his true identity? He questions. Zeon replies that he only knows about it for now. Hart, who seems relieved now, says to Zeon that he is a fool for taking action alone and questions Zeon that he would like to know how Zeon will kill him. Hart looks at Zeon with a killing intent and questions that whether Zeon is thinking of escaping from him. Hart explains his plan to Zeon before trying to kill him. He clarifies that the one they are serving was not originally called evil, but just because these foolish humans in power couldn't grasp this strength, they defined her as evil and threw her into this forest. Hart adds that they've been waiting for the day. The evil entity breaks the seal herself and purges this world. He explains further that as one of the purification cult's members, their duty is to trample and kill any bugs getting in her way. After saying all that, Hart confidently charges towards Zeon. Hart thinks that the attack he is using now is a quick sword. It's so fast that it cannot be seen by an opponent like Zeon's caliber. He thinks that the moment his silver flash appears, the opponent's head would fall off, and the battle would end. His attack was perfect, but how did his right hand get cut off by Zeon, he wonders. Hart seems confused about what just happened now in mere seconds. Zeon explains that he did 2 mistakes. The first one is that Hart thought that Zeon was weaker than him, and secondly, he didn't give his all in his first strike, totally underestimating his opponent. Zeon says this while releasing the aura of the Black Star Fall. Hart gets extremely furious and shouts at him, saying him bastard. Hart then again tries to attack Zeon and thinks that this time his attack will work, as his attack consists of a slash said to cut down the moon, a technique that only the successor of the Sidmail family can use. He was pretty confident that with this, he would win. Zeon speaks that he made one more mistake. Zeon uses his Black Star Fall and outdoes all the slashes of his opponents. In a blink of an eye, Zeon appears right in front of Hart and says to him that he should have run away when he got the time. Hart says that Zeon got him for good, but he can't meddle in his plan because there is still. Zeon intervenes and says that B knows there is still one more person with him among the party members. Hart gets shocked and asks how. Zeon kills Hart as he has to move quickly. He walks while thinking that Rain's party might have moved to the center by now. Zeon comes across a tablet. He introduces it as Evil Spirit Divine Tablet. This tablet was used to seal the evil. Zeon gets confused as he has no idea why this tablet is in this place and not in the center of the forest. Zeon tries to walk away without any further delay, but suddenly the remaining senile spirits who were sealed inside the tombstone attacks Zeon. Zeon runs forward and makes a black aura and attacks the spirits. It was like a small air rainfall as the spirit got exploded. According to the novel, this tombstone will be used by the hero's party to subdue and seal the evil in the near future. Zeon thinks if he could use this top-notch sealing magic in this tombstone, it would be beneficial for him. In the next scene, Zeon feels a strange atmosphere and wonders whether the event has started. On the other hand, Ragno asks to Rain how much further they need to go and wonders whether Hart is still alive. Kayla says Ragno to use his hands to clear the path in front of them instead of his mouth. Rain says that they just need to go a bit further to reach their final destination. One of the members alerts them that they should not go any further than this or else they are doomed. All of a sudden, they witness some spirit combining together. We witness the same girl whom Zeon encountered moments ago. The girl says to everybody that they are late. Rain Draenir recognizes her as the evil spirit. The girl says to Rain that why is she called evil even though she did what she just wanted and walks towards them. Rain alerts everybody to stand clear. Ragno questions Rain that is this girl really the sealed evil entity. Rain replies saying yes, and the girl can't use her full power because of the sealing. Rain Draenir tries to alert everybody again, but he hears a sound of someone falling down. She looks back and witnesses Ragno's dead, and everybody in her team was whipped, except Kayla, and one of the mercenary recruitment by Lian. In mere moments, Kayla shouts to Lian that how can he kill his own team member? Rain gets extremely shocked by Lian's actions and can't keep herself standing on the ground. Lian walks up to the girl, praising her as the mother of all beast. Lian reveals the tattoo of the purification cult in his body and introduces him as the evil entity's child. Rain's face turns pale as she gets to know that her childhood friend was one of the members of the purification cult. Lian says to the girl that he killed all those people who went against her and also offer Rain Draenir to her because the Draenir was the one who sealed her. So, he says that he bought a descendant of Draenir as a present. Lian bows his heed and requests the girl to take his offerings. The evil entity walks up to Lian and says that she doesn't like the gift and questions Lian why did he kill her prey as he pleased. Lian gets confused. On the next moment, she cuts Lian's head by saying that she never a child like him and gives his corpse a death glare. The mercenary girl finds Zeon and says that they must run away as everybody on their team was killed by Lian. Zeon perceives that this girl might have run away. The girl explains that the enemy they are facing are out of their league, and they don't have much time, so they must run away. Zeon smiles, saying that this is actually better for him, as he hoped that the evil entity would be stronger. Zeon remembers the story of that evil girl and starts to reminisce the story. He shares that it was from the moment she was born and began to perceive the world. The desire to kill something arose within that woman until a fortune-teller told her that she was fated to slaughter the heavens. Zeon introduces that word, fate. A path determined for a being from the moment it is born into the world. The woman accepted that fate. There was no sense of refusal whatsoever. No, there was no need for that. Why would she turn away from something that gave her such joy? Zeon concludes. Even if that fate turned her into an enemy of the world and led to her sealing, she didn't regret it. Because the more they gathered together, the more lives she could kill, Zeon explains. The evil girl to Rain that she is quite weak for a descendant of the Draenir family. The girl says that after killing Rain, she is going to destroy the ruined city. She adds that she was sealed for many years, and now she is starving, and one city might not be enough. Rain brings out her lighting spear and attacks the girl, piercing her body from the middle. Rain says to the girl how many sacrifices should be made until she is satisfied. The evil girl says that now Rain is acting like one of the Draenir family. The girl says that now she likes Rain because she is resisting and has a desperate look on her face. The girl throws her foxes at Rain from the hole in her heart, which was made by Rain's spear. Rain thinks that she would die if the evil girl's attack hit her, thus Rain dodges her attack. Rain uses her lightning spear to attack the foxes, but she notices that her spear, which was made of black iron, was torn apart by the foxes. The girl releases her foxes and Rain jumps upward and starts to accumulate her lighting. Rain thinks that she must end this with a single strike, as the evil entity's powers are sealed, and before she loses more strength, she must end it right here. So, Rain makes the huge lighting strike hit the girl. As Rain used most of her, she can't keep up her posture and falls to the ground and coughs blood. Rain thinks that the girl might not be able to handle and must be in a weak condition now because of her seal. But suddenly Rain hears a voice from her back, which startles her. The girl predicts that Rain might be thinking that this is her last chance to kill the girl, and she must muster all her strength to kill the girl. The evil girl asks Rain if she is right in her prediction. But the girl answers that she is wrong because the seal was lifted a long time ago, and she was only testing the waters instead of acting on a whim. The girl concludes that Rain Draenir was completely doomed from the beginning of this battle. Rain conceives that this entity cannot be defeated by humans. The girl releases her huge snakes at Rain. How can a monster like her get sealed? Rain wonders. Rain loses all hope of survival and remembers her father in her mind. Suddenly, he witnesses a dark energy, and she faints. On the next scene, Zeon thinks that the shock Rain received from this incident will be enough to awaken her full potential. The girl reminds Zeon that she told him not to come to Forest unless he wants to die. Zeon calls the girl by her name, which is Lyoshina Bloodwalker. Lyoshina says that she is quite surprised to know that Zeon knows her name. She says that if Zeon knows her name, he might also know the other names that people gave Lyoshina. Zeon remembers that Lyoshina is an entity that has killed the most humans in the world, Queen of Evil. One-man army, mother of beasts. She has been called by many names, but she had one representative alias, the Witch of Heavenly Slaughter. The witch says Zeon is stupid for not listening to her warning. Zeon says that why would he listen to her? Lyoshina replies that she would kill Zeon otherwise. Zeon says to Lyoshina that he doesn't have any plans of dying here, but he has one particular desire. Zeon says that from today onwards, Lyoshina would serve him. Zeon explains that he was considering Lyoshina Bloodwalker as his subordinate from the beginning. He also thought of Rain Draenir as a subordinate, but Rain Draenir is an entity who will be a comrade in the hero's party. Lyoshina says to Zeon if he wants her as an ally, he have to make her submit to him. Lyoshina tries to attack Zeon, but Zeon throws a stone which he got moments ago. The stone opens up a new dimension known as Grand Soul Annihilation Circle. Zeon explains that this is a great magic spell that hero of Draenir family used to seal the Witch of the Heavenly Slaughter in the past. It's a supernatural technique that extracts only the soul of the caster and the target and isolates them in another world. Zeon explains the thing he did in the past. He says that he transferred the magic dwelling in the tombstone to the spell storage stone he received from the spy of Eye of the Moon. It was so difficult to cast the spell that he only brought the essentials parts, and according to Zeon, it should be enough. Lyoshina says that she was aware about every moves Zeon took from the very beginning, because she doesn't only dwells on this forest, she is the Black Forest herself. She let Zeon to do everything he wants, because she knew that Zeon's actions were all useless. Lyoshina explains her conclusion that the Grand Soul Annihilation Circle isn't a sealing spell to begin with. It's a magic that destroys the target's soul while using the Carter's soul as a collateral, which means that it's useless if the Carter's soul is weaker than the target's. Lyushina conveys that this was the reason why, in the past, the hero of Draenir was also incompetent to seal her completely. She concludes that centuries had passed since that sealing, and her story has now become even stronger. Lyushina questions whether Zeon's soul can overpower hers. Zeon says that he isn't quite sure and accumulates the black star in his hand, while saying that he is putting that into test now. Zeon thinks that he has always been curious about something. He wonders whether the soul trapped in this body of Zion Agnes is the soul of his original body, the emperor who reigned over the world, or the soul of the incompetent prince who merely inherited the emperor's memories. He wonders whether the emperor's soul truly lost its existence. He concludes that the Grand Soul Annihilation Circle is a place where only the soul's exits, not the physical body, and he must now be able to know the answer of his questions inside this circle. Lyushina taunts Zeon, saying what test he is blabbering about. Lyushina say that how can Zeon test the powers of the Witch of the Heavenly Slaughter with a power of his which was barely above the elites. Lyushina adds that she was not planning to kill Zeon for the time being because of his interesting powers, but now Zeon was successful to upset her. Lyushina says that she would kill Zeon, and while she is at it, she would also get rid of this Grand Soul Annihilation Circle. Lyushina smirks and questions Zeon. How many does he have, because she has plenty? She transforms her right hand and releases an attack known as Sangria Requiem. As the snake was going to engulf Zeon, it completely disappears, and Lyushina gets astonished as she watches that her right arm also entirely disappeared. Lyushina thinks that, how can this be happening? Zeon didn't even lift any of his fingers. Zeon says to Lyushina that her stomach will explode if he tries to swallow him. Zeon conceives that since he is inside the circle, he can feel the power of Black Star fall stretching out. He feels a sense that expands endlessly and becomes finer, creating hundreds of ways to eliminate the enemy in front of him. It was definitely the power of the Black Star Emperor who ruled over the world in the past. Lyushina gets furious and restores her arm while asking Zeon, how did he do that? Zeon replies that she must know the answer herself. Zeon's answer angers Lyushina even more. Lyushina screams at Zeon while Zeon lifts his hand to trap her. Lyushina feels that she can't move her body. In mere seconds, Zeon appears in front of Lyushina and smashes her head into pieces.